Live on the Zone, September 14th, Canelo versus Berlanga. A legendary boxing rivalry, Mexico against Puerto Rico.
You're gonna feel so much pain.
Canelo has been destructive through the division, with win after win after win.
You will see.
But a fearless Berlanga is ready and coming for all the belts, unbeaten and hungry. On Mexican Independence Weekend, Canelo versus Berlanga, September 14th, live on The Zone with English and Spanish commentary. Buy now at thezone.com.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Marcos Viegas for Fight Up TV here in Las Vegas, being joined with Jim Lampley to preview this Canelo versus Edgar Berlanga fight coming up September 14th here at the T-Mobile Arena. Jim, you got a hard-punching, young, undefeated opponent in Berlanga going up against Canelo, who's seen every style, so much more experience, so much more versatile, we feel, on paper. You, from what you've seen of Berlanga, like what type of challenge can he bring to Canelo, like, honestly?
Well, I think we're going to learn that. There's a lot that is unknown with regard to this. Step one is, can Berlanga master the event? Can he come into a kind of situation with surrounding media, fans in the hotel, et cetera, where he is more in the public eye and exposed to the pressures that come with that than has previously been the case in his life and in his boxing career. So, you know, you can fight other really good opponents, but they're not Canelo Alvarez. He's fighting the #1 dollar-for-dollar fighter in boxing with all of the hoopla and the pressure that goes with it. And surely he sees and can recognize in his exposures to Canelo, such as at the press conference today, that Canelo is the master of all this. He has so much experience, so much background, and so much ingrown education about being the #1 star, being the person whose personality and record drives the event. That's all new to Berlanga. And I've seen fighters who, blinked in the headlights of all that. So I'm not saying that Berlanga will, but he's very nice. He's warm and friendly. He's the kind of young man who may or may not have the fierce inner mettle that's necessary to master an event like this. Yeah,
I guess we'll see, and you don't really know till like he steps in the ring, and all that hits him, and then the other part, the adrenaline dump from the walkout and getting in the ring and then facing off with Canelo.
He makes no bones about the fact that he's excited to be here, and he understands that this is a major step forward in his evolution as an attractor, as an attraction. And it's got to be a step forward in his evolution as a fighter, because he's fighting by far the most sophisticated opponent he's ever seen.
How many rounds do you expect it to go, or do you feel it goes based on what you've seen, your studies on paper?
Look, Canelo doesn't hunt knockouts. Canelo lets knockouts come to him when they happen. Canelo's perfectly happy to carve out a 12-round decision, as he did against Munguia, with enough exciting moments along the way to remind people that he's Canelo Alvarez. So this all depends on how aggressive Berlanga wants to be. How much does he want to throw himself into the combat and give Canelo chances to penalize him for that? That, I think, is where the answer to how many rounds lies, whether it's 6, 7, or 8. I'm not saying that Canelo can dictate the length of the fight, but I think in some ways that is a plausible possibility for him.
When you look at Canelo, he said like he feels like the best he's ever been, that this 33-year-old Canelo would beat the 24-year-old Canelo because the experience, and he feels better. But at some point it's going to catch up to him. So far it hasn't. But do you feel that like the sun is slowly setting on Canelo's career at this point, like his career arc?
Haven't seen that yet. Yeah. Really have not yet seen that. I think he likes being the king of the hill. He lives a great life by most of the standards that we would apply in judging something like that. From everything I've heard and read, he still goes into the gym every day and works as hard as he ever has. He still does some of the other physical training surrounding the boxing gym, like horseback riding, that he's done for much of his life. I don't see any absence of hunger. He knew doggone good and well that this wasn't the fight that boxing media wanted him to take. He knew doggone well that people wanted to see him. I wanted to see him fight David Benavidez or maybe David Morrell or take the Terrence Crawford fight. For whatever reason, his own reasons, he didn't do that. And that's a mark of the self-containment of Canelo Alvarez. He bends to nobody's will other than his own. That happens outside the ring, and that happens inside the ring.
So a lot of people have had a major problem with that, with someone having the ability to pick and choose who they want. And there was a great point brought up in the group scrum on Monday where one of my contemporaries mentioned, hey, you know, LeBron, Brady, even though they're getting older, they're still playing the number ones consistently. They're not picking and choosing. I don't want to play against this guy because so-and-so. Like, why does this apply to you, Canelo? Like, why do you get to make that choice when these other people in these other fields, they don't abide by those rules?
This is boxing. You know, if I'm going to go play basketball at the highest level, I'm not taking the same risk with my mind and my body that a boxer takes. So this is a unique environment, a special occupation, and that's the reason why you go to a gala event where there are athletes from every sport in the room. And if Mike Tyson or Lennox Lewis or Ray Leonard or Tommy Hearns is in that room, they're the kings. They're the ones that the other athletes most want to meet and to whom they want to pay homage, because every athlete realizes this is different. And I think Canelo knows that very well. And he wants to put an indelible mark on not just boxing as a whole, but Mexican boxing. He wants a special position on the all-time pyramid of Mexican boxing. And he knows that that's going to take a continued sustained effort, and it's going to be a measured effort, and there's a lot of intelligence in it. It's the way he lives, it's the way he works, it's the way he fights.
Do you think at all, like, you've seen so much of the sport during your time in your career, like, I don't know, I'm just thinking in my mind, like, him not fighting Benavidez for these, like Munguia, this fight, the fight before, I feel like his fan base, like, a part of it is starting to, like, question him, like, why aren't you fighting this guy? And like, it's hurting him, though.
The media are questioning him, the fans are questioning him, and typical of all the people I've seen in that position, that only makes him more determined to show I'm the boss. You don't make these decisions for me. I will fight whom I want to fight on my schedule, and if some writer wants to criticize me for it, that's not going to bother me. At the end of the day, I get the money. I've got the house in Guadalajara and the house in Rancho Santa Fe. I've got a string of rather beautiful horses. I've got a gorgeous wife to whom I go home. I can do what I want to do, and he enjoys proving it, just as Lennox did, just as Mike did, just as Ray did. All the greats, I've seen that self-containment and that will to say, I'm the boss. Don't pressure me.
And it never really affected their legacy in the long run when, you know, they retired and then some time went on. Do you think this will be, if he doesn't fight Benavidez, it'll be an asterisk on his career? Or do you think at some point, like, he's going to give in to the pressure? Like, he's going to have to fight the guy?
It might be an asterisk for super sophisticated boxing fans. It might be an asterisk for people within the sport, media people like you and me who know exactly what this is. But the general public doesn't really know David Benavidez for one particular reason. He hasn't fought Canelo Alvarez. And he would have to get a chance to fight Canelo Alvarez in order for the public to know him at that level. Canelo knows that. And you know, does that spur him to want to give in to public pressure and Benavidez pressure and whatever else there is? No. It only makes him more determined to show I'm the boss. I believe at some point he'll fight Benavidez because, taking this fight shows you the last thing Canelo worries about is facing a puncher. He has proven his punch resistance at the highest level for a long time.
Yeah, he is one of the best chins in the sport. You think ever? Yeah?
Ever. Yeah. Well, based on what I've seen, I called fights on HBO for more than 30 years. It's close to 40 years that I called fights when you count ABC. I think he probably has, we call it a chin, he probably has the best chin of anybody I've seen.
More than Chavez, really?
Chavez was good. I'll go with that. So it's a small
amount of people, yeah.
Small sample. Maybe I'm wrong in saying he's the best. I've made errors like that before. But today is a day when I went into his dressing room and spoke with him. Yeah. So that makes me think he's the one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because there's been so many. But, yeah, we've never really seen Canelo get, just the one fight what he had against Cotto's brother, the only time. But he was such a young kid.
He was a kid. He got knocked into the ropes by a left hook from Cotto's brother. It was ruled a knockdown because technically if the ropes hold you up, then the referee has the right to call it a knockdown. So it was ruled a knockdown, and that's the only time.
I always wonder, too, what if he would have hit him again and there would have none of this, this wouldn't be Canelo. This would be someone else. Would have he still been a superstar even if he would have gotten a loss at that point against Canelo's brother?
I don't think Jose Cotto was going to knock him down, basically. At the end of the day.
It's like that what-if scenario,
I don't think it was really in the cards.
Yeah.